What's poppin', everybody? Sabro94 here with 6 bad changes that happened in the Pokemon TCG over the years. I like the Pokemon TCG how it is right now. I think it's okay with the GX concept, GX attack concept, and the Sun and Moon era. I think they're doing pretty good, but it still has room for improvement, and it could have been much better. And some of the changes that happened, we're still dealing with them today, and we could have had a better game, I feel like. These won't be in any particular order, except maybe for one that was actually the worst change that ever happened. Thankfully, we don't have to deal with this anymore. But yeah, so the first thing, number one, is when Pokebodies and Pokepowers got mixed and turned into abilities. So maybe some of you newer guys don't know this, but before the 5th generation, instead of abilities, I had Pokepowers and Pokebodies. And basically, bodies acted, they were active all the time. They were basically an effect on the Pokemon. And Pokepowers, you had to activate them, manually activate them, usually before you attacked. And maybe sometimes they were continuous, like things like Rain Dance and shit. You could use it many times per turn, but most of the times you could only do it once per turn. So when they got mixed and became abilities, I think it was a bad thing because when they were separate, not only it was more clear, but at the same time, it added more variety into the game. So for example, we had effects that only blocked bodies or only powers, or just gave a special effect for powers or bodies kind of thing. For example, Dialga G level X could block Pokebodies on all non-SP Pokemon, but it couldn't do it for Pokepowers. And other Pokemon could maybe like Gengar from Stormfront do more damage with its first attack on a Pokemon with Pokepowers. So it was kind of a split thing that added variety. So I don't think it was ever good that they removed the shit. Also, to add on this too, before Pokepowers, if the Pokemon was affected by a special condition, it couldn't use it. So that added more skill into the game. I guess made special conditions even stronger maybe, but it was just a nice little touch, I feel like. Now abilities, you can always use them no matter what. So yeah, that's the first thing. The second thing is the simplification of weaknesses and resistances on Pokemon. So as you guys know, for example, metal Pokemon, they're mostly weak to fire. You've got the odd Pokemon there, like Skarmory maybe, they're going to make it weak to lightning, just to add that little variety. But that's the thing, they could add more variety. Before in Diamond and Pearl, and in the 3rd generation as well in Hoenn, we've had more resistance and weakness variety on Pokemon. They took advantage of types better, and it added more creativity and more versatility when it comes to weakness and resistance in Pokemon. Add some new shit as well. You know, we could have Pokemon that resist Fairy as well, or let's say metal Pokemon that resist metal. And of course, why not bring double resistances or double weaknesses back? I mean, I'm not gonna say go overboard and do it with 3 and shit, but I think 2, it's still something they could do. Now, third would be dual type removal. So technically we kind of have this since they introduced it again in Steam Siege, but they kind of dropped it again since we didn't see it in any other set. But this is more on the simplification of the game once again. Dual types are more exciting and better because it adds more variety, more versatility, can make Pokemon more offensive and give them an edge. And it's just cooler, man. When we had that in 3rd generation, it was pretty cool. I don't see why we can't have dual type Pokemon again. Number 4 is going to be kind of complicated, and it's basically when they decided to bring back EXs but make them basic and make them have this crazy HP, and the rare candy errata. So I think if they were going to do that, bring the basic EXs back when they did in Black and White, and we still had the overpowered rare candy that you can evolve on the first turn and shit, maybe it would have been okay. Or if you're gonna make the rare candy errata, then don't bring basic EX Pokemon like that are so big. It basically made the stage Pokemon be so shit, so slow, they just couldn't compete. I mean, I can't really think of any Pokemon that managed to even try to compete a little bit than Empoleon, for example, from Dark Explorers, the one that could attack for 1 energy and draw cards too with his ability. And that Pokemon was like tier 2 at best. It wasn't like even super top tier. And other decks like the Flygon, Dusknoir Flygon deck with Excelgor, that was kind of a more of an exceptional deck because it didn't really attack. You relied on a combo and on the abilities. So I don't know. It was a really bad idea. If you think about the third generation, how it was kind of balanced, it was because the basic Pokemon that were EXs didn't have all that crazy HP because they were basic, and stage Pokemon could still kind of compete with EX Pokemon. EX Pokemon were obviously better, but they gave 2 prizes. But there was still some sort of balance. When they brought back EX Pokemon and they just made everybody be basic, it kind of fucked with the variety, it fucked with the balance, and I think that was a bad decision. Maybe if we had the overpowered rare candy, it would have been okay because maybe these stage Pokemon could have been fast at least with their improved HP and attacks and all that stuff, but they needed to do things differently. They just needed to just not errata maybe rare candy or just not bring EXs the way they did. It's a complicated matter, but I think you guys get the idea. If we're gonna go with the rare candy errata that happened, then the EX Pokemon that came back in the 5th generation shouldn't have been just basic Pokemon. They should have been Stage 1 and Stage 2 Pokemon, kind of like they are basically with the GX Pokemon now. The same shit. Okay, now number 5, I think it's number 5, yeah, is all Dragon Pokemon are weak to Fairy. This is really terrible. I mean, I'm not even going to go into maybe Dragon Pokemon should have their own energy, Dragon energy, like the fairies do, but because Dragon Pokemon are all weak to Fairy, it means they basically can't hit anything for weakness. If Dragon Pokemon were weak to Dragon, at least you know that if you're going up against another Dragon deck, you're hitting for weakness, they're hitting for weakness. It's kind of a special thing, but they have something they hit for weakness. That's the thing. And number 6, this is actually the worst thing. If there's going to be one that's number 1, it's number 6. That you can basically do everything turn 1 in the rule changes that happen in 5th generation in the beginning. So maybe you guys don't know, but when 5th generation came around, a lot of rules changed for the worst. Like, for example, the bodies and powers mixing into abilities, and other stuff, basically some erratas like the rare candy and potion and what have you. But if there's one thing that was the worst thing they decided, was that you could basically do everything turn 1 and still attack. Right now, we can play trainers and we can do whatever we want if we play first, but you can attack, okay? And in the 4th generation, 3rd generation, and the generations before that, there were slightly different rules where maybe you could attack first, but you couldn't use trainers and supporters and what have you, different varieties of rules. But when the black and white shit came out in 5th generation, they decided, okay, you can use all trainers, you can do all this shit and attack. So basically the player that went first had the absolutist, I just made that word, advantage. They had absolute advantage, and it was really bad. And you can argue players can still have the advantage today when playing first and shit, but it was even worse when obviously people could play all the shit and attack too. That was definitely the worst change. It made sure like the formats that we had those rules never really maybe were at their best potential. They were kind of shit. Luck was all over the place. Games were won like based on coin flips even more than ever, and it really sucked. It was like the most shitty decision they've ever made, and they did errata the shit. Of course, they changed the shit as we have it now. When I think it was around when Legendary Treasures was gonna come out or some shit. But yeah, definitely the worst decision. So a lot of these changes that we have kind of now, like with the bodies and powers mixing to abilities and the dual type removal Pokemon that having 2 types and shit, like on Steam Siege, they're kind of basically just making the game more simple. They basically simplify the game, and I don't really like that. I think I like more variety. I like creativity, versatility, and where you can have more options and creativity for combos and shit and variety. So that's why I think they're bad changes, but hey, these are my thoughts. But hope you guys enjoyed this little video. Hope you guys subscribe, leave a like, share this with your friends. Saber 94, what's up?